Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome back here to the launch pad, or maybe afternoon or evening, depending where you are joining us from. You are joining us for our live launch coverage of Transporter 4, launching from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station at Slick 40. We're expecting liftoff to occur in about 17, 18 minutes time, so SpaceX should be going live in just a couple of minutes. To help organize some of it, I know there's two streams happening right now at the same time. If you are joining us here, this is where we'll be doing our live launch coverage for Transporter 4. If you're looking for our live coverage of the Artemis 1 wet dress rehearsal, we are just waiting for our camera to go online, and then that stream will be starting. That is over on our second stream. So if you go to our channel, there's going to be two streams running at the same time. So that's where you'll be able to catch that. That's going to be running for the next about 2.5 days as they go through the wet dress rehearsal. We'll be posting updates on there, but we're just waiting for those cameras to go live, and then that stream will get underway. But here, Transporter 4 launch, another Falcon 9 launching from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, though. But as always, if it's your first time here, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the host here at the launch pad, and here at TOP, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together. We've been doing some studio upgrades, modifying, so that's why I'm not on camera today, but we will have a great live launch coverage for you here as we watch 40 plus more spacecraft and small sats being launched on a Falcon 9. Right now we're going through our weather data coming in from Cape Canaveral and Kennedy. We started the day with a 30% chance of launch, tornado warning south of the Cape. We are still seeing a yellow lightning zone on the map that's gone green and gone to yellow on and off, so we are monitoring that as they do need to watch out for lightning. But SpaceX said they have increased their probability of launch up to 60%, so that's really great news. So we'll wait to hear another update.
Stage 2 launch mode has started.
We'll wait to hear another update from SpaceX, but they have proceeded with fueling, as you may have just heard there on the comms net. They're working on stage 2 LOX load at this time, and once SpaceX goes live, we will patch them in here right away, so you guys will be able to have an uninterrupted view and hear updates on that. But you can see the weather kind of passing straight to the south of Cape Canaveral, so that's what they are monitoring, because they do have to fly through that. But as always, as we get started, take a moment, let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from. I see people already doing it, which we appreciate. Great to see so many regulars in here. And if you guys have questions throughout today, you can send those in the chat. Just take us at the launch pad, and we will be answering those live. Also, if you haven't yet, take a moment, hit like. It really helps us out. Consider joining our Discord. It's free to do so. And we may have dropped some new exciting things over on the shop, something that has been long awaited for us. So take a moment, click the shop link, head on over, and don't forget you can use promo code LAUNCHDAY, all caps, one word, and get 10% off of everything in store. We're going to take some time, and Heather, oh my goodness, show your face. I can't, my camera's not set up. Next stream we'll be back on camera. But great to have you all here. Take a moment, share out the broadcast. If it's your first time here, though, let us know where you're tuning in. Give you shout out from there. But we got people from Philippines, we've got Vietnam, we've got the UK. Great to have you all here with us. But as you can see there on that weather board, everything is green except one yellow bar. So they will be monitoring that yellow bar to see how things are progressing. No UFOs today. No UFOs. Justin, what is the passenger of today's launch? It's a great question. So while we wait for SpaceX to start up their stream, we'll do a quick run through of everything that we know about today's mission. So it's a Falcon 9 Block 5, as always, launching from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Today's booster is 1061-7, going for its 7th flight. And this is the 4th transporter mission that SpaceX has done, which is one Falcon 9 carrying 30 to like 100 plus CubeSats into space. They're launching into a sun synchronous orbit. Just read the instructions, is downrange 532 kilometers, ready to recover the booster, which is this is the first transporter mission that is not a return to landing site. Many thought it was going to be until we saw the drone ship leave, and then it was a surprise. This is the 90th reflight of a booster for SpaceX, with a 56-day turnaround. This is the 12th launch of SpaceX in 2022, continuing that cadence of at least one a week. And Elon tweeting earlier this week that they think they're going to be able to bump their number from 52 to 60 plus launches this year. Here in April, including a couple other companies, we are looking at possibly up to 11 launches to see this month. So it's going to be a very busy month, and we're glad to have you guys along the way with us. On board today, there are 40 different spacecrafts that are carrying a different size CubeSats into orbit, and they will be going through those on the stream. They'll show us a glimpse inside the fairing as we go along board. But there are a number of different companies that are on board. We've got Omni Space, we've got Satellogic, we've got Space Lust, as well as we have Yam 6, Albania 1, Pixel, we got Gnomes 3, RROCI, a whole bunch of others on board this mission today. This is a really great way for smaller companies and new agencies to get some CubeSats up into orbit while they are still a new company and being able to get up there. So we love seeing these transporter missions. We'll be following along with them as we continue. And it looks like SpaceX has gone live, so we're going to patch that over in here. And we'll patch in their audio once they've actually started their stream. But if you guys have questions, send those in the chat. We'll be answering those until we patch their stream in, and then we'll go kind of from there. But Ken, are we excited for the Artemis launch? Absolutely. A couple months away from the Artemis launch, but we'll be there. And the wet dress rehearsal is going to take 3 days. They're going to be doing some prep over the next 2 days, with April 3rd being the full wet dress rehearsal actually day, the day they do the fueling. But we're expecting to be able to bring you guys a 24/7 camera from Kennedy for this time. So we look forward to being able to bring that to you guys very shortly. Heather, why is it a wet dress rehearsal over a dry rest? So wet is because they are actually going to be putting fuel into the rocket. So it's wet because there's moisture. And you're welcome for saying that word. Happy April Fool's Day. Aren, is it at Cape Canaveral or Cape Kennedy? So today's launch is from Cape Canaveral. Artemis, the wet dress rehearsal, is at Kennedy Space Center. And Justin, yes, the actual wet dress rehearsal does take many hours. It really does actually take kind of the 72 hours because there's a lot of lead-ups. There are countdowns that begin multiple days in advance and stuff like that. So they are already into that wet dress rehearsal. People are arriving on site preparing for it. So that is what we're waiting for. April Fool's is just a firework, London, UK. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Nightcat, great to see you. Awesome. First time this week. Great to have you here. If you're just joining us, welcome here. You're joining us for our live launch coverage of Transporter 4 launching from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. We're just waiting for SpaceX to get underway and give us some updates from the ground of the status of the rocket. And once they set up here, we will patch them in so you'll be able to hear what's kind of going on as we count down towards liftoff here. And just over 10 minutes from now, so getting very quickly approaching that that launch time. There we go. SpaceX starting their feed here. Maybe a slightly updated video. This looks like a new video here. Or at least a little bit of updated footage. Yeah, definitely a new video. That's nice. It's always nice to have some new footage from SpaceX. I love that they're including Vandenberg more. We are starting to see a lot more launches from there. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button. It really does help us out. Continue sending in your guys' questions. We're going to be answering those live as we continue down through the count towards the launch. Yeah, this is a really new video. This is awesome. Take a moment, share out the broadcast as we count down about 9 minutes to launch. Let's listen in.
At a live view of the Falcon 9 set to lift off at 12:24 p.m. Eastern Time from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. My name is Yomezo, and I'm joining you from the opposite coast here at SpaceX's headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Today we're launching SpaceX's Transporter 4 mission, our fourth dedicated smallsat rideshare program launch and 12th launch of 2022. On this flight are 40 spacecraft, including CubeSats, microsats, picosats, non-deploying hosted payloads, and an orbital transfer vehicle carrying spacecraft to be deployed at a later time. There will be a total of 20 deployments today, which will begin around the T+15-minute mark and last for approximately 73 minutes. Due to the lack of ground station coverage at times, we expect only a handful of our deployments will be visible today. However, we do expect to have telemetry and hear audio confirmation over the nets when in range of ground stations. To see a full list of today's deployments, head over to Starlink or SpaceX.com. And with liftoff in about T-7.5 minutes from now, let's take a moment to learn about the Falcon 9 rocket on your screen.
Chill has started.
Now, to give you a sense of scale, the rocket supporting today's launch stands about 20 meters taller than the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, France. It's named after the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars and gets the number 9 after the number of Merlin 1D engines at the base of the rocket. Now,
chill has started.
What you can see in that foggy view on your screen are the 4 key parts that make up the rocket. The first is the first and second stage, as well as the inner stage in between, as well as the fairing at the very top of the rocket. Now, the first stage is the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle that you can barely make out there, and that's what we refer to as the booster. Those 9 Merlin engines do the bulk of the work to get Falcon 9 off the ground and up to the thinner parts of the Earth's atmosphere. For today's mission, it will be flying a southern trajectory along Florida's eastern coast, which may make it flight visible from the ground there. At about 2.5 minutes into flight, it will separate and make its way back down to
RP1 load complete.
Back down to Earth. We did just finish stage 1 fuel loading. And again, the first and second stages will separate, with the first stage targeting a landing back on our drone ship. Just read the instructions. Now, for those of you keeping track, today's mission does mark the 7th flight for this particular booster. And on top of the first stage is the black carbon fiber inner stage, which connects the 2 stages and houses the pneumatic pushers that allow the first and second stage to separate during flight. Then on top of the inner stage is the second stage, which will take the 40 spacecraft to their eventual destination in orbit. You may want to watch the velocity gauge that'll show up on the bottom left of your screen to see how fast we're going when stage 1 separates, and then how fast when we shut down stage 2. You'll see that stage 2 actually contributes more velocity than the first stage. Now, right now, the spacecraft are enclosed inside the large nose cone at the top of the rocket. This is called the fairing. The fairing's job is to protect the payload inside until the vehicle is outside the Earth's atmosphere, at which point the fairing halves will separate to expose the satellites to space. Now, today we're flying a new fairing, which you might be able to tell as it's much cleaner
for a strong back retract
than the sooty first stage, which has flown many times before. We are currently just about T-4.5 minutes from liftoff. The vehicle is healthy and we're currently working, no issues. You may have heard that we finished stage 1 and stage 2 RP1 loading, and stage 1 liquid oxygen loading will finish a little over a minute from now at T-3 minutes.
Strong back retract has started.
Heard the call out that the strong back has begun retraction of the transporter erector. You can see those clamp arms below the fairing opening there to allow the transporter erector strong back to pull slightly away from the Falcon 9. Now again, the transporter erector is the structure that provides liquids, gases, electrical connections to the second stage, as well as air conditioning to the payload fairing. You might be able to hear the pops and hissing sounds, and that is from propellant loading, as well as the launch mount and strong back that the propellant is going through. You can see that strong back slowly reclining there from the Falcon 9. As a reminder, you're watching the webcast for Transporter 4, which is our 4th dedicated rideshare mission to date. The payloads continue to look healthy. The Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. We should be finishing stage 1 liquid oxygen.
Stage 1 LOX load complete.
There it is. We just finished stage 1 liquid oxygen loading. And in about a minute here, the stage 2 liquid oxygen should wrap up as well. We do load liquid oxygen in as late as possible so we can keep it as cold as possible so we can load more of it into the booster. You might be able to hear that it is a busy morning here on the factory floor here in Hawthorne, California. We're about 10 seconds from the end of stage 2 liquid oxygen loading.
And as we get down to those last 2 minutes, if you're normally with us, we want to see a go, no go in the chat.
Finishing up liquid oxygen loading. Those white clouds that you see coming from the booster are venting from the transporter erector liquid oxygen line. They're on your right. That's totally normal and expected. In about 30 seconds here at T-minus 1 minute.
Gas closeouts have started.
At T-minus 1 minute, Falcon 9 will be in startup. The first and second stages will begin pressurizing for launch, and the internal flight computers will have taken control of the countdown.
If you haven't yet, take a moment, hit that like button. We are T-minus 60 seconds and counting.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
On the right side of your screen, you'll see live telemetry of the booster and the second stage once they separate and how their trajectory is going, and of course the live views on your left. There we go. We are go for launch.
Final go for launch. All systems are go. Let's watch Falcon 9 lift off.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mission and liftoff of Transporter 4.
There we go. Another liftoff. New camera angle, beautiful clear view.
Stage 1 chamber pressure is nominal.
We're at T plus 40 seconds. Awesome views from Falcon 9 punching through the clouds. Falcon 9 has cleared the tower, and we're currently
telemetry nominal.
throttling down in preparation for Max Q at T plus 1 minute and 12 seconds. This is where the stage will experience the maximum aerodynamic pressure.
Max Q.
There's Max Q. Everything is looking good with stage 1 trajectory. Beautiful view of the clouds in the background there. In just about a minute, we will have 3 events coming up in pretty quick succession. There's MECO, which is main engine cutoff, stage separation, which is when the first and second stages separate, and SES-1, where that single MVAC engine on the second stage will ignite, carrying...
Start of MVAC engine chill.
You heard the call out for the start of that MVAC engine chill prior, getting ready for that second engine startup. Really cool plumes from Falcon 9. We're under 30 seconds to main engine cutoff.
Main engine cutoff. Stage separation confirmed. MVAC ignition.
There you heard and saw those 3 events happen back to back: main engine cutoff, stage separation, and second engine startup 1. You can see those grid fins deploying on the first stage there. In just a few seconds, we should have
fairing separation confirmed.
There's that confirmation of fairing separation. You can see the 2 fairing halves have separated from the vehicle, exposing the 40 spacecraft to the vacuum of space. Now, today's mission marks the first flight for both of those fairing halves, and we will be attempting to recover those from the water once they fall back down to Earth.
So we are watching the live telemetry on the right side of your screen, and it is going in a different trajectory than the gray lines. Normally it follows those. So we are keeping an eye on that, but everything looks like it is performing well. The booster just starting to slow down. A couple more minutes until it reaches its apogee and begins its descent down to just read the instructions. Second stage well on its way up into orbit.
Falcon 9 would put unnecessary strain on the rocket structure.
Vehicle is following a nominal trajectory.
And there's good confirmation that they are on trajectory.
Again, is SpaceX's 4th dedicated small-sat rideshare program mission and the 12th mission of 2022. SpaceX is targeting at least 3 dedicated rideshare flights to sun-synchronous orbit per year. And we also offer opportunities to ride to orbit on our Starlink missions, which launch every couple weeks or so. Small sats can ride to space on SpaceX's Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy, as well as Starship in the not-too-distant future. You can see on those live views from the first stage on your left that Falcon 9 is equipped with 4 hypersonic grid fins positioned near the top of the first stage, and stage 1 is using these grid fins for steering as it makes its way back down to Earth. Second stage is looking good on the right there in the middle of its first burn, the first of 3 burns. Those white puffs of gas that you may occasionally see from this first stage are from the attitude control system, and those are nitrogen gas. That's nitrogen gas that's coming out and helps with attitude control of the first stage as it makes its way back down to Earth.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
We're about 3 minutes from the start of our stage 1 entry burn. Again, this is a 3-engine burn, and there are 3 engines in a row on the first stage, which will light up to slow the vehicle down as it enters the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere.
Vehicle continues to follow a nominal trajectory.
If you are just joining us, we did have a successful liftoff of the Transporter 4 mission, which is SpaceX's 4th dedicated small-sat rideshare mission and 12th mission of 2022. On your screen are live views from the first and second stage, with the first stage making its way back down towards the Atlantic Ocean to land on our drone ship, Just Read the Instructions, and the second stage on your right in the first of 3 planned MVAC burns. We're about 2 minutes from the start of that stage 1 entry burn, which is about a 20-second burn that slows that first stage down as it enters the Earth's atmosphere.
Acquisition signal, Bermuda.
Now for today's mission, the stage 1 landing burn will follow under a minute after the end of our stage 1 entry burn. And that'll land the first stage on our drone ship, Just Read the Instructions. And to put the deceleration of the landing burn into perspective, around 60 minutes or 60 seconds away from landing, the first stage is moving about 2,000 miles per hour. Then in less than a minute, we'll rapidly reduce speed in order to prep for landing, and the first stage slows down to just about 87 miles per hour when the landing legs deploy just prior to landing. The Falcon 9 first stage is equipped with 4 landing legs made out of carbon fiber with aluminum honeycomb, and they're placed symmetrically around the base of the rocket, and they'll deploy just prior to landing. We're under 30 seconds to the start of that stage 1 entry burn. It's a really cool view of the Atlantic Ocean from the first stage on your left.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Here's the start of the stage 1 entry burn.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
Did have a successful stage 1 entry burn. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be attempting to recover
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
this booster for the 7th time today on our drone ship, Just Read the Instructions.
Stage 1 transonic.
The first stage has just 1 more burn left.
Terminal
And
guidance.
that's the landing burn. We'll be starting here in just a few seconds. And at the same time, the second engine, the MVAC will actually shut off at the same time as the start of that landing burn.
Stage 1 landing burn. Seco 1.
There's second engine cutoff 1, and you heard that we did start our stage 1 landing burn. This is about a 20-second burn of the single
Nominal
engine.
orbit insertion.
As you can see, we did have a successful landing of our first stage, as well as a confirmation of a nominal second stage orbit in the middle there. Now coming up in about 5 minutes, we are expecting the start of the deployment sequence. There will be 20 deployments of 40 spacecraft, which will occur over a 73-minute period of time. Now this includes CubeSats, microsats, picosats, non-deploying hosted payloads, and an orbital transfer vehicle carrying spacecraft to be deployed at a later time. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the webcast, due to the lack of the ground station coverage, at times we expect only a handful of our deployments will be visible today. However, we do expect to have telemetry and hear audio confirmation over the nets when in range of ground stations. Now again, to see the full list of deployments for all 40 satellites on today's mission, head over to SpaceX.com. With that said, the first 3 payload deployments are going to happen during a blackout period where we will lose live camera views and telemetry. There is a possible blackout period when we plan to relight the MVAC engine on the second stage for its second burn at about T plus 28 minutes into flight. Because all critical data is stored and forwarded, we will confirm deployment of the first 3 payloads once we regain ground station coverage in the Maldives around the T plus 57-minute mark. For now, we're going to take a short break during this blackout period, and we'll leave you with the animation of where we are during this time.
And there we go, another launch successfully completed. We're going to take some time, answer your questions, and stay live. And we'll keep an eye out on how this mission is unfolding and continuing on as they get ready to continue towards deployment in just a couple of minutes. That first deployment expected to occur. For those waiting for our Artemis wet dress rehearsal stream, we're working on some camera things. The feed from NASA started, but went immediately into buffering, so we're trying to get that reinstated before we go live, because we don't want you looking at a spinning circle this whole time. But here we do, coming up to deployment of the first round of satellites from today's Transporter 4 mission. All of these are launching into a sun-synchronous orbit. They launched in a polar trajectory. And there we go. There's that blackout period right before deployment. But as you can see, there will be deploy. Sometimes there's one deploy at a time, and sometimes there will be multiple at a time. All depends on where the customer is wanting their payload to go. A lot of these payloads are the size of something comparing to your toaster, to your microwave in size, just to give a concept. Yeah, but I agree, Bailey. Absolute best footage yet. They had some incredible views there today. Even with the weather, had some really great views. Thanks, Tubular. Appreciate it. Yeah, we're upgrading our systems. We're getting a third computer into the studio because today was the first time we would have needed 3, but we got some stuff on order, so excited to see there. The real YouTube, why was the first telemetry data off? It looks like it wasn't. It looks like it did launch in that it did a dog leg, so it launched south, but now is launching over like South America, so it's slightly different than what we've normally seen, where it's launched from Florida over like Brazil. This one's launching over Mexico. So this is launching actually similarly to what we would have expected from a Vandenberg launch, which is again why we have basically no telemetry, is because it's past Mexico and now it's going to be over the ocean pretty much the entire way around the world. So I think someone may have just loaded a traditional launch out of Slick 40 on the mapping, and then the actual is accurate because it's based off of real data. So we're we'll wait and see if we get any updates on that, but always interesting to see there. Norman, does Falcon hence have enough to fully fueled second stage, which would now be a third stage, to use as a tug? It depends on the payload that's on board. Yes, they could launch something to act as like a tug, to add on to other satellites or things. Yes, that could be possible. They've not done so yet. Norman, could SpaceX use a sun shield technology to keep cryogenic propellants cool? Wouldn't be worth it. The weight of needing a sun shield and the deployment risk and everything, the little bit that they'd save really wouldn't be worth it. Because there's so many things happening, and here at the Launchpad we cover everything space, spaceflight, space engineering, and the future of space. Yeah, there's still that extra track on the telemetry, which is interesting. But the blue line, that's the real one. That's the one we're worrying about. I know we had multiple people down on site today. We were having some... trying to get Artemis running while doing this stream, so that's why we didn't get any of the live views from our team down there, but we did have team on site. Jetty at Kennedy and around the area, so hopefully we'll see some photos and videos from them over on the Discord and hear their reports on what today's launch was like. Red, why did they launch for the West Coast? Good question. It is a very good question. That one I don't fully have an answer for. I think it launch window, booster availability, a lot of things go into that. Also, they've launched transporters 3 times from Florida, so it's an easy formatting. It's also easier probably for their customers to get their payloads to the facility, where Vandenberg is, like, they're both Space Force base and stations. But Kennedy is Kennedy. Like, they have all the systems to really accept a lot of cargo and stuff, where Vandenberg, SpaceX rents like one little part of it, but it is a much, much larger military facility, where Cape Canaveral is pretty much exclusively rockets and stuff, so. That is true, Norman. That's true. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you're doing okay. I've had that in the family, and it's hard. I think reusable rockets are critical. I think we absolutely have to have reusable rockets, or it really doesn't work. If you haven't yet, take a moment, head on over to our shop. We released some brand new stuff after a long time of requests, as well as you can use promo code LaunchDay to get 10% off of everything in the shop. We're going to take a quick commentary break. Keep sending in your questions. We're going to be answering those. We're going to try to get the Artemis stream up and running, so you guys can enjoy that. So stay with us as we keep monitoring deployment of Transporter 4. We've got about 50 more minutes to see the rest of the deployment sequence. Yes, Bailey, space underwear is here, along with leggings and sports bras. This is our first collection. Drop 10 pieces. If you guys like it and you want more of it, we'll do it. But we want to do a little test of it. But if you like the Starship heat shield, there's some pretty sweet designs there, so make sure you check those out. We're going to take a quick commentary break. Stay with us right here on the Launchpad for continued coverage of Transporter 4.
4 p.m. Eastern Time from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, had a successful stage separation, landed our first stage on just read the instructions, and as you may have seen in the video there, we were able to get confirmation of a successful second burn of our MVAC engine, along with a good orbit confirmation. We have 40 spacecraft on board today's mission, spanning across 20 deployments. While we were during a blackout period, we were able to confirm our first 3 deployments a little bit earlier than expected. Our first payload, which was situated at the very top of the stack, is an Earth observation satellite named ENMAP, which is short for Environmental Mapping and Analysis Program. It's the first hyperspectral satellite developed and built in Germany on behalf of the German Space Agency. By recording a spectral fingerprint of the objects under interest over a continuous spectrum of the sunlight reflected from the Earth, this technology offers new possibilities for rendering the invisible visible, providing identification of minerals or pollutants in a certain area, types of vegetation in selected areas, and how polluted a body of water may be. Again, we did confirm our first 3 deployments of the payloads. Up next, we are waiting on the relight of our second stage engine for its final burn at about T+1 hour and 8 minutes. We'll see you back here just before that to show that live. For the next 10 minutes or so, enjoy the space tunes and the intermittent views from our stages and our second stage, and we'll see you back soon.
Rehearsal. REHEARSAL.
which was only about 1 second long. We are waiting for confirmation of that good orbit from SES-3 and SECO-3.
Nominal orbit insertion.
There's the confirmation of a good orbit there. Now, much like our first 3 deployments, our next 9 deployments are also going to happen during a blackout period, which means we lose camera views and telemetry. But to see the full list of deployments, head over to SpaceX.com. And while we wait to regain access to ground station coverage in a few minutes, sit back and follow along with our animation that shows you where we are in the mission. And we'll be back here at T+1 hour and 18 minutes. dedicated small-sat rideshare program mission. We had a successful liftoff at 12:24 p.m. Eastern Time from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. As I mentioned, this is our fourth dedicated rideshare mission. Our goal with these rideshare flights is to provide small satellite operators with the competitive pricing, increased flight opportunities, and flexibility. These dedicated rideshare flights to sun-synchronous orbit will occur around 3 times a year, providing regular access to orbit. Additionally, we also offer opportunities for a ride to orbit on our Starlink missions, which launch every couple weeks or so. So we have 40 spacecraft on board today's mission, spanning across 20 deployments. That includes CubeSats, microsats, picosats, non-deploying hosted payloads, and an orbital transfer vehicle carrying spacecraft to be deployed at a later time. So far, we've had 3 confirmed separation events and are currently waiting to hear the call-outs for another 9, which occurred during a blackout period with no access to ground station coverage. Now again, to see a full list of all deployments, head over to SpaceX.com. Now let's listen in to hear the confirmation of those 9 deployments here shortly. Now we should get that confirmation.
9 payload separations confirmed.
There we just got that confirmation of
Acquisition signals forward.
Of 9 confirmed payload separations and a brief glimpse from that Falcon second stage. That confirms the second set of deployments. So far, we've had 12 out of 20 successful deployments. And in just under a minute, we are about to start our last batch of 8 deployments. So over the next few minutes or so, we are expecting to hear the call-outs for the remaining 8 deployments. It's also worth mentioning that because many of the spacecraft are being deployed in groups, we may not be able to confirm every deployment in real time, but you should hear most of the deployments called out by the operators on console. But for any we don't hear,
25 separation confirmed.
There's that first one. But if there's any you don't hear in real time, we'll try to provide updates by the close of the webcast. Let's listen in.
You said 26 separation confirmed.
Hawk 4C, separation confirmed. Hawk 4B, separation confirmed. Hawk 4A, separation confirmed.
Acquisition of the signal, Thule.
MP42, separation confirmed. Link, separation confirmed. SCV-005, Almighty Alexius, separation confirmed.
And with that, that concludes our deployment sequence. We were able to confirm all 20 deployments today. Falcon 9 really wasn't fooling around. And with that, we would like to thank all of our rideshare customers for their support on today's mission. For a full list of the deployments today, head over to SpaceX.com. We would also like to thank the United States Air Force for range support, as well as the Federal Aviation Administration for licensing. Continue to follow us on SpaceX.com for future missions and milestones, as well as Twitter and Instagram. And if you're excited about what you've seen today and want to join our team, visit SpaceX.com/careers to learn more about working here at SpaceX. Thank you to all of our viewers for your continued support, and have a great rest of your day.
And just like that, Transporter 4 mission complete. Full deployment of all of the CubeSats on board. If you haven't yet, though, take a moment, hit that like button. Really does help us out. We're going to be wrapping up this feed, but while we've been here, we did launch our new 24/7 cam out at pad 39B for the wet dress rehearsal. Thanks to NASA for getting us that cam view. So you can follow along over the next 3 days as they go through the countdown sequence. Final preparations are underway currently. The launch team will be called to their stations, and the L-45 hour countdown will begin at 5 p.m. Eastern tonight, but we'll be live through the next couple of days with status updates on screen, so you can follow along with what activities are occurring out at pad 39B as Artemis 1 comes to life and gets fully fueled for the very first time. So click that link in the chat there. If you haven't yet, head on over, check out the shop. Promo code LaunchDay gets you 10% off of everything. And we did launch our space underwear after many, many requests from all of you. But that is going to do it from here in the TLP studio. This is Zach signing off. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.